are you the only one that don't know?
Excuse me, I'm talking.
It don't matter.
It does.
It don't.
So therefore,
Did you just let her disrespect your mom?
Yeah, real bad.
I'm sorry, I had to catch that.
Come again?
Honestly, I don't even know why she over there. She don't do nothing.
It doesn't matter.
After 2 decades, imagine the shock of discovering that the man you believe to be your father is now denying his paternity. It's utterly bewildering, isn't it? Poor Miss Tucker finds herself in this very situation, standing before the court, desperately trying to prove that her father is indeed her biological parent. Will she triumph in this legal battle and reclaim her father's love? Let's dive into the emotional roller coaster.
Miss Tucker, you believed another man was your dad until a bomb was dropped on you 10 years ago when your mother admitted that the defendant is your biological father. You opened your case to prove to Mr. Hunter that he is your dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Lake couldn't help but notice the struggle in Miss Tucker's eyes as she fought back tears. Raised with the belief that her father played no role in her upbringing, she was led to believe his presence didn't matter. But let's pause and reflect. Shouldn't every person have the freedom to seek out and connect with their true roots? It's heart-wrenching that Miss Tucker had to accept this for a whole decade.
What do you do after that?
His sister didn't come get me again after that, but I did go home and I talked to my mom about it, and she told me it did not matter because she was my mother and father and he didn't do anything anyway. And so I just accepted it as that. My mom's always did her best with me, and I grew up with a great family, so I just took it as if it was his laws.
Curiosity piqued, Judge Lake turned to Mr. Hunter, questioning when he discovered the child wasn't his own. Surprise, surprise, it turns out he had known the truth since the child's birth. He confessed that upon hearing this news, he vanished into thin air, only to resurface 15 or 16 years later.
When she got pregnant, you were told.
Yeah, and she told me the child wasn't mine.
And what was your relationship like with Miss Tucker? You were dating exclusively, you were boyfriend and girlfriend, or just...
Yeah, for a short while.
Okay.
Yeah, for a short while. But when she told me she was pregnant, she said the baby wasn't mine. I left and I got my life together.
Hold on tight, folks, because things are about to take a grotesque turn. Even though the child was undeniably Mr. Hunter's, Adriana, the mother, told him she wasn't his daughter, prompting him to flee. But wait, it gets even crazier. When he returned, fueled by swirling rumors, he ended up with Adriana's own sister. Talk about a mind-boggling twist. Both Adriana and Mr. Hunter seem to have lost their grip on reality.
He left after you said the baby's not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you told everybody else that you thought you confided in, and people had thoughts that the baby might be his, but you told him she wasn't.
Yes, Your Honor.
He's gone. But during that time, and that would have been almost 20 years ago.
Yet, amidst the chaos, Miss Tucker emerges as the epitome of strength, taking matters into her own hands, determined to unravel the truth and set things right. Let's applaud her courage. After all, she's the one who has endured the most in this tumultuous ordeal. Judge Lake, touched by Adriana's plight, extends a sympathetic gesture and requests the envelope.
I feel like both of them are just kind of nonchalant about it because this is the most I've heard out of all of this time. It took for me to have to take matters into my own hands to get both of them here and answered, and it should not have happened like that, I feel like. I just don't think it should have happened like that.
Yeah.
And now, the moment we've been waiting for, the verdict. Brace yourself, because it may not be the outcome Adriana desired. Alas, Mr. Hunter is proven not to be Miss Tucker's biological father. It must have shattered her heart. Yet she displays remarkable resilience, asserting that her sole intention was to uncover the truth, allowing both parties to move forward without further interference.
Mr. Hunter, you are not the father. I'm sorry, Adriana.
It's okay. I just wanted answers so that I don't have to keep interrupting his life or, keep going through this in my own life.
Get ready, folks, because this case just took an unexpected turn. The real question is, could either the deceased man or his own brother be the father of this child? Seriously? How could Miss Brogdon have relations with both brothers simultaneously? Now, this might either pique your interest or leave you utterly disgusted. Proving to the deceased man's family that this child belongs to them won't be a walk in the park. that's for sure.
Ms. Sugden, you say without a doubt that your brother did not father Ms. Brogdon's daughter. You say the stress of her accusations have affected your mother greatly and is preventing her from healing after the loss of her son. Is that correct?
Fast forward a bit, and things are getting even more complicated. Mr. Brogdon dropped a bombshell claiming that Tiana knows Paul isn't the father, but Tyrell is. However, Tiana insists that Tyrell might be the father. Meanwhile, Tiana is primarily concerned about her family and the turmoil they're enduring due to Timsha's accusations against her brothers.
It's affecting our family too much. We need to get this over with.
Because he has guilt because he knows he slept with her.
Yeah, and it's a possibility, that he could be the father.
He was upset about taking a test because he know he's not my baby father. I heard that story from a family member.
So today's test will reveal which of the two brothers is the father of your child?
Two women in the courtroom, and they're both losing their minds, shouting at the top of their lungs. Timsha simply wants them to step up and take responsibility for the baby. However, the sister and mother believe it's unfair to put their family through such stress. But let's be real here. That's not a good enough reason to abandon an innocent child.
Right then and there, y'all could have got a DNA test done on that day.
Why didn't Mish call? Why is she going through you all the time? She's a grown woman.
You're right. Why did she go through me? But
y'all
going through you
y'all
about
don't
every
like me.
single
Y'all
thing.
hate me.
But you're a grown woman. If you want somebody to help you with
true.
your child, you be a woman about it.
The same way how
Okay,
y'all on
let's
Instagram talking about me and my
calm
child,
down.
my innocent child that don't have nothing to do
it's
with
not
the
about her, it's
situation.
about
Ladies,
Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the results are in. Brace yourselves, because Paul is not the father, but Tyrell is. Now, here's the real question. Will they embrace this baby as their own niece? Will they find it in their hearts to love and support her? It's their moment to step up and take responsibility, to make her an integral part of their family.
in the case of Brogdon versus Sugden Jones, pertaining to 17-month-old Quamira Jones, it has been determined by this court. Miss Christina Jones is related to Quamira Jones.
Hold on to your seats, folks. We've got a shocking and downright disgusting case on our hands. Brace yourselves for the jaw-dropping details. Miss Parker claims Mr. Morton is the father of her 7-month-old baby. But the twist? She thinks he's shirking his responsibility because his current girlfriend turned him against them. Is this the truth? Or is there another side to this?
Miss Parker, in your suit, you claim Mr. Morton fathered your 7-month-old son, Aaron, while in a relationship with his current girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say the only reason he denies paternity is because his girlfriend turned him against you because she's been unable to conceive a child with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Whoa, hold up! Did you just hear that bombshell? Get ready to have your mind blown. The judge asked how Miss Parker and Mr. Morton continued their affair while he was in a committed relationship. So brace yourselves. Miss Parker was involved with both Mr. Morton and his girlfriend, Mrs. Lemon. That's right, folks, a love triangle.
First of all, Your Honor, that's my baby father. Anytime I want to have sex with him, I'm going to have sex with him. I was vulnerable. He called me. You know, we did what we did.
So, hold on. You have a child with Mr. Morton.
Yes, I have a
already.
5-year-old son.
And he's not the child in question.
No, Aaron is.
But you also still continued a sexual relationship.
Yes, with the both of them.
Things got confusing when Miss Parker mentioned a previous miscarriage. Here's the scoop. She was married but got pregnant by her boyfriend and had a miscarriage. How does it relate to the current situation? The judge had to dig deep to make a fair decision. Talk about a complex web of relationships.
Before my boyfriend went away, I was pregnant by him. That's what they're getting confused. I had a whole miscarriage, Your Honor. A whole miscarriage by this man.
Now all of a sudden.
I had
You were pregnant.
before,
but you
like this was before though. This is before I got pregnant
He was only
again.
locked up
You're wrong.
a
He
month
wasn't
or
even
something.
away when I was pregnant. I was.
But you
But I
miscarried.
miscarried.
Now, let's delve into Mr. Morton's disbelief. When Miss Parker revealed her pregnancy at 8 weeks, he didn't buy it. Could it be because of her previous pregnancy? The judge questioned his doubts. And guess what? He still had them. Was this the reason for his lack of involvement during the pregnancy? The plot thickens.
I was 8 weeks pregnant when I got that sonogram, and I went home and I gave him the sonogram to let him know we got a baby on the way.
What was your response, Mr. Morton, when she told you we have a baby on the way? That
She had told me.
you still had doubts. Did you participate? You have a child with her already. Did you
Yes.
participate in the birth? Were you there through the pregnancy?
I didn't
Were
go
you-
to none of the appointments.
Hold on a minute. Did Mr. Morton really let his girlfriend disrespect his mother? Unbelievable, right? Was it manipulation, or does he think his mother deserves disrespect? Regardless, interrupting others while they're talking is never okay. And seriously, using his mother's lack of involvement as an excuse for disrespect? Weak argument.
For our support system, it was me and my daughter, which is Eric's sister,
And her
Mr.
mother.
Morton's sister.
And her mother.
And excuse me, I'm talking.
It don't matter.
It does.
It don't.
So therefore,
Did you just let her disrespect your mother?
Yeah, real bad.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I had to catch that.
Come again?
Honestly, I don't even know why she over there. She don't do nothing. for my
It
grandson.
doesn't
She don't get my
matter.
grandson.
Drum roll, please. The moment we've all been waiting for, the results. Mr. Morton is confirmed as the father of Miss Phillips' baby. He'll need to pay half the expenses incurred so far, totaling $993.50. Now, here's the big question. Is that enough? Shouldn't a father be actively involved instead of trying to escape? Food for thought, my friends.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Parker versus Morton, when it comes to 7-month-old Aaron Morton, you are Aaron's father.
Thank you. I told you. Like, I'm not no. Come on. Thank you. I need that paper so I can go down child support tomorrow morning when I get up.
Mr. Brown is refusing to believe that he's the father of his child, simply because the baby was born prematurely. This is a ridiculous reason, and it's clear that Mr. Brown doesn't understand science. Or does he have another reason for doubting the paternity? This relationship is on the verge of breaking, but will Mr. Brown stay if he finds out he is the real father? He's also asked for a lie detector test. So what does he think Miss Parker is hiding?
I feel like that I need to be free because at the end of the day,
I wasn't doing anything.
What you mean? I be stuck with the baby 24/7, honey. I was with my friend. He would not let me have no friends.
I let you have no friends.
He won't let
oh
me
my
have
God.
no
You crazy.
friends. I cannot even step out my friends and go have a dinner.
Mr. Brown's doubts are apparently based on the fact that Miss Parker got pregnant in June, but the baby was born on January 5th. He's done some research, and he believes that even as a premature baby, the baby should have been born in February. But is he right? Or is he just looking for an excuse to deny paternity?
When was Malachi born?
He was born January 5th.
And take me back, you said, what about this time of this birth didn't add up to you?
I did research and I found out that full-term pregnancy is between 39 and 40 weeks. And if you got pregnant in June, the baby should have been born probably in February.
So you guys met when?
We met.
First, I found out I was pregnant June 4th on his birthday.
Mr. Parker is stepping in to defend his daughter. He believes that Mr. Brown has trust issues, and he thinks that the baby looks like Mr. Brown, so he should be able to see through his doubts and accept the baby. Mr. Parker is urging Mr. Brown to step up and be a man. Today, let's find out if Mr. Brown is actually the father.
I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I don't even know why we're here today.
Yeah, why are you here?
Why are you here? I mean, obviously, you know that's your baby.
Hairline.
My hairline is straight. Here's like an arrow.
All right,
What you mean? That don't mean
hold
nothing.
on. Miss Parker, Mr. Brown.
I mean, obviously, you know that's your baby. It's time to step up. Be a man. Do what you have to do for your child.
Miss Parker is crying, and it's heartbreaking. She wants Mr. Brown to stay in her baby's life because he's the only father the baby has ever known. She doesn't want her child to grow up without a father.
I mean, whether he's not or is the father, I feel like I still want to sign the birth certificate because he been there since day one. He's the only man like I love, and like I don't want to be with nobody else but him. Malachi, he's the only face he's seen, but he ain't seen no other guy, and I don't know, like I don't want to interfere with their relationship and their bond.
The lie detector results are in. Did Miss Parker sleep with anyone else during their relationship? The lie detector says no, so she was telling the truth. That means that Mr. Brown is the biological father of her child, right? This is a gripping story with a lot of suspense. Will Mr. Brown finally accept that he's the father of his child, or will he continue to deny paternity? But one thing's for sure, this is a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat.
Mr. Brown, you are not Malachi's father. I'm sorry for you both. I know you wanted a different result. I'm gonna give you both a moment to compose yourselves, and then I'm going to meet you in my chambers. Okay. Court is adjourned.
McCrary has come to court to prove that Mr. Goodson is the biological father of her miracle baby, the cute little 18-month-old Arian. For the longest time, the two have been going back and forth over the matter, but now only a DNA test can give them the answers.
Has he been involved in her life at all? 17 months.
He has been to a certain extent, okay? I can count on one hand how many times.
One hand in 17 months, you can count?
Yes, Your Honor, and counting, okay?
And when you see her?
That's my miracle baby. It just, you know, she made me happy.
Looks like baby mama has a pretty interesting story to tell. Mr. Goodson has stubbornly refused to act as a fatherly figure to Arian. But the thing that bugs her off is how she's come across him at the grocery store with his other family. Can you believe that?
So you developed feelings for her?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you all ever discuss making this thing a committed relationship?
Yeah, when I brought the subject up, that's when she disappeared on me.
You disappeared, Ms. McCrary, when he talked about making you his girlfriend?
You say I was being basically secretive, phone was ringing. You have a whole nother lifestyle besides me and my daughter.
So, Mr. Oh, I'm so innocent had a secret family in hiding while also having casual flings with Miss McCrary. Mr. Goodson's excuse is that he had been having trouble with his wife, so they were separated. But separation doesn't mean that they were divorced.
You know, when you're talking to someone about committing in a relationship, it's about you guys, not somebody, your ex, not my phone ringing. That's not the point. The point is that we're adults. Sit and talk to me. I know when I conceived. I know the exact date.
What is the day you conceived?
He picked me up that night from work, July the 10th, okay? If I'm not mistaken, we got American Deli.
Then the most unexpected thing happens. The plaintiff dives into some very specific details about the things they did in the bedroom. Can anyone tell her the court's not the appropriate place to discuss these things? They don't want to hear about extra licks.
What happens when you find out you're pregnant?
I gave him a call. You came right away. So when I told him, he was just up for it. I'll be there. I'll rub your stomach, take you to doctor's appointments. And I just felt like, oh, okay, well, you know, maybe he here for me. Maybe he's gonna be here for me. Got me thinking that, you know, oh, it's gonna be all okay. It was not all okay.
Now, flash forward to when baby mama found out she was carrying the defendant's baby. Of course, she was happy, and she immediately told her family. But the biggest hurdle in her way was to break the news to Mr. Goodson.
I asked her, why she telling me? We haven't been talking, hadn't had sex, did that for, like I said, about 3 to 4 months. Then all of a sudden, I get a call and say, hey, you know, I'm pregnant. And so I was, you know, my expression was like, you know, why you telling me? When she had told me that, you know, she had been, you know, sleeping with someone else.
Turns out there was a reason why the potential baby daddy wasn't so supportive of finding out the pregnancy news. He suspected Miss McCrary had been sleeping with someone else. That's a load of audacity from a man who was having an affair behind his wife's back.
But at the end of the day, when you go back to your dates, a real woman know who she having sex with. You know, when I told him my date and I went back and told him specifically when it happened, why, you know, what we was doing, it could be a possibility. Oh, yeah. Okay.
That was a good impression.
Apparently, the only thing stopping Mr. Goodson from accepting Arian as his daughter is that he's pretty sure Miss McCrary had sex with multiple men, so he couldn't be the father. Whereas Miss McCrary kept track of her conception window, so she's pretty certain. Only the results can tell us the real answer now.
Mr. Goodson, you are the father.
Oh,
Okay.
You are the father.
Okay, well, I want to apologize to you. Now that it's over with, you'll never have another problem out of me.
The case of Miss Dallas and Mr. Stewart will make you scratch your head. There's a lot to uncover, but for now, the summary is that Mr. Stewart hasn't been the most honest man on the planet, while Miss Dallas just wants to prove that her 1-month-old baby Lamar is Stewart's son.
So, Mr. Stewart, did you meet Miss Dallas, date her casually, have sex with her, and finally, only later tell her that you were married?
It didn't quite go like that.
How did it go?
You know, it didn't come up. You know, I felt like it didn't come up. Like,
how did it not come up?
It did.
That's relevant information, is it not?
Yeah, true that. Yes, Your Honor.
So things started casually between these lovebirds. One day, bam! Turns out that the defendant has a wife in hiding. Judge Lauren is shocked, but what shocks her more is Stewart's response to her. This man had the audacity to say that it never occurred to him to tell Miss Dallas he was married.
Mr. Stewart, during this time, were you still intimate with your wife?
Not at the time. Like, I don't know how to put it, but it's like we were living together, but we were having problems of our own.
Miss Dallas, once you found out he was married, did you have second thoughts about dating a married man?
Yes, I did have second thoughts, but once everything started hitting the floor, like, I was already pregnant.
Hold up. It's not just Mr. Stewart who's done questionable things here. Once Miss Dallas found out that he's married, she should have walked away, right? Well, that's not how it happened. Instead of doing the right thing, Miss Dallas kept seeing Mr. Stewart and got knocked up.
Even though you were still married to your wife, you were happy your mistress was pregnant.
Yes.
Do you have any other children?
Yes.
You do? How many?
3.
With your wife?
No, we have no kids common.
But you have 3 children from a previous relationship?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
10 years.
So you found out about this baby and you were happy?
Yes.
Things take a surprising turn when baby daddy reveals that all of the accusations the plaintiff is throwing at him are a big, fat joke. Sure, Mr. Stewart was having an affair behind his wife's back, but then a friend of his confessed something to him.
But
so don't you believe that would discredit?
Yeah, that's why I did. Yeah, that was that's one of my doubts.
That's just one?
Yes.
What's your other doubt?
Well, the other doubt was like when he got here, he don't look like me. Look at his hair, he look mixed.
He don't look mixed.
Look mixed.
All babies come out with fine hair.
If you ever think you're having issues with your partner, just wait till you hear about the things these two have done. Mr. Stewart seemingly went ahead and got Miss Dallas's name tattooed on him. So even if she's his mistress, he seems pretty eager about her.
So, Mr. Stewart, why would you sign the birth certificate if people have been telling you that she was also sleeping with other people and you had doubt?
Guess I had been there so long. She got other kids, you know what I mean? I got a relationship with them. I wouldn't just be gone.
Wait a minute, now you standing next to your wife and you telling me how you gonna be there for your mistress. I'm getting confused. Who are you actually with right now?
And then Mr. Stewart brought his mother into court. And boy, is it pretty obvious that she's got a lot of beef against Miss Dallas. According to his mother, the timing of the kids doesn't add up. And that's why she believes Miss Dallas is just trying to con her son.
I just started showing I was like 8 months really getting a round belly and stuff or whatever, but the measurements was threw off, but the ultrasound was right on point.
So wait a minute, you all have so much information.
I only
It's
spoke to her
like you,
one
the
time.
women have all the facts and I can't get a straight answer out of Mr. Stewart.
For real? I figure I'm being straight here.
No, you're not.
You see just how mind-boggling their relationship has been? On top of that, they have a child that's being dragged into the mess of their created chaos. Now, the only thing to do is find out if Lamar really is Stewart's son. And if yes, what will happen? Will he leave his wife? Will he marry Miss Dallas?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Stewart, you are the father.
Hey, I told you, baby. I told you. I ain't got no reason to lie at all.
Megan has brought herself into court to solve the mystery of the paternity of not 1, but 2 kids. Yep, poor Ava and Daryl have been left wondering who their father is. William, Megan's husband, keeps insisting that he's 100% sure the kids aren't his.
We don't need to go through this because we just lost a son 6 months ago. For him to deny my kids, it's destroying us even more. We barely talk to each other. We sit in separate rooms. You know, we don't do what marriage people are supposed to do.
How long have you been married?
Since February 14th, 2014.
Just since 2014, and already the marriage, it's being torn apart.
Yes.
Due to this paternity question.
The story of Megan and Williams has an incredibly mind-boggling start. Williams actually asked a 5-year-old boy to go ask Megan her number. Once Williams got what he wanted, the 2 lovebirds just hit it right off. It was love at first sight for them.
Your Honor, I heard rumors that she was cheating on me. Now, I'm grieving too, we both lost a son. But it's just the rumors and everything that I can't deal with it no more.
How long have you been hearing rumors?
I've heard them since the first one was born, the one we lost.
You've heard rumors that your wife is with someone else.
Yes.
Despite the happy start to the relationship, both Megan and Williams recently lost a son. Williams was in the mourning period when he started hearing rumors about Megan cheating on him. But the worst part is how Williams found out.
So, Mr. Wells, you are in a relationship, you get married, you begin to have children, and all of a sudden your ex comes to you and says, I've got news.
She was like that Megan is the thought of the place where they work at.
So she just decides she's gonna call you out the blue and tell you your wife is a thought.
I mean, well, not out the blue, but she heard that she was pregnant. So she was like, I just want to let you know that might not be your baby.
In the beginning, when Williams' ex told him Megan was cheating on him, he didn't really believe her. He knew his wife was a good woman and would never do anything like that to him. But then he noticed how Megan had been sneaking around a lot lately.
Yeah, she's covering up her text messages, erasing them.
Oh, I delete my text messages. It's been a habit since I was little. I delete my texts every day at midnight, and I can admit to that.
Now, I'm a straight shooter in this courtroom, Ms. McDaniel. That really doesn't sound too good. Text messages are not what's getting her pregnant. You usually smell a little smoke before we get to the fight.
Hearing Megan's stories really makes a person wonder if she can ever be trusted. Williams finds out that while Megan's at the club, she's letting all sorts of men grab and touch her. And that's how Williams started doubting Ava, not resembling him even one bit. It seems like he's decided the kid's not his.
Okay, but you don't believe she looks like you.
No, not at all.
And so for 2 years, you've looked at this child with doubt in your mind and in your heart.
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
And I can see that really does bother you deep down inside.
Then, the other thing that gave Williams doubt about paternity is how even though he's the father on Ava's birth certificate, he's not the father on Daryl's birth certificate. Now, that's more than enough reason to make a man doubt the paternity of his kids. But then, how's Williams the legal father?
Forget you don't remember this happening after the baby?
I swore he signed it, but obviously he didn't, that's the proof.
So, Mr. Wells, you feel like there's some part of this that was intentional on your wife's part.
Yes.
You believe that somehow she maneuvered or said, I don't want him to sign that because she was unsure?
The most bizarre reason Williams states about Daryl not being his kid is how the kid has a strangely shaped head. Even Judge Lauren looked at him like Williams had lost his mind. How could he say that about his kid? Well, there's only one way to put this matter to rest, and it's to reveal the results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Wells, you are the father.
Janice and Alan have been having marital problems, and the problems involve the defendant remembering very vividly that his ex-wife cheated on him 26 years ago. Now, they're divorced, and Alan wants to prove that Daniel isn't his son, and Janice should stop tricking him.
I met this gentleman that I went to school with, decided to introduce him to my wife as a friend of mine, and next thing I know, he's coming over, messing with her hair, giving her all the comforts that I should be giving her. And I spoke with him and asked him to back off, and I also spoke with my wife at the time and told her, this does not need to continue.
It all started when the poor alleged father introduced a friend of his to Janice. Then, things started getting weird at home. Alan would come home and find the apartment empty. After a little search, he would know that Janice would be at his friend's house. As Janice's husband, he didn't like the sound of that.
We had went camping one weekend. Supposed to be a family outing, me and her, and he wanted to follow along behind. So we get to our campsite, we camp. He ends up in our tent that night instead of his tent. And Your Honor, as we sleep in the tent, there's him and there's me in the middle to divide them. Because this is my wife. I want to sleep next to my wife.
But the red lace panties weren't the only evidence Alan found against Janice cheating on him. He even caught them red-handed once. He went knocking at his friend's door once and saw Janice in nothing but white sheets. That's enough evidence to say she's guilty.
So, Miss Tant, how soon after this night with the sheet did you find out you were pregnant?
6 weeks. I was 3 weeks pregnant when I found out 6 weeks later.
So, Mr. Wynn, when did you find out about the pregnancy?
Not till after the boy was 2 years old. She contacts me and tells me, we have a son.
According to Mr. Wynn, he's always been more of a family man. When he found out Janice is pregnant, he was on cloud 9. But then he also started thinking of how it could not be his child. But the worst part is the toll it took on poor Daniel.
And so in your life, you've known that there was a question as to your paternity.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you approach your mom or did you say anything? Like, are you ever gonna figure this out?
I've asked a couple of times, and the couple of times that I've asked, I usually didn't get an answer.
The shocking part is how confused Daniel stayed because of all this. To find answers to his questions, he would try searching for pictures of that other man Janice slept with. But then, Janice reveals to the whole court that the man passed away a long time ago.
As you'll notice, Your Honor, this says Elaine Denise Wynn, her birth certificate, my daughter. Okay, and if y'all notice right here on this one, it says Daniel Joshua Whittle. Whittle's not my last name, it's her last name. So I've been ripped from my name carrying on. The love to show in my family that this is my son stops.
And then Janice created a whole mess out of the birth certificate issuance. Instead of having Alan as the father on Daniel's birth certificate, she left the space blank, so the guy at the podium couldn't claim the child was his. Meanwhile, Daniel grew up calling Alan Dad.
Oh, I told him he had a son.
Did you ever tell the other man, Miss Tant, that you might have a son?
No.
Your Honor, she lived with this man after she had the child.
Were you intimate with this other man more than once? Or
One time.
You're saying just one time?
Which was the night I left. And that's because he threatened to, the only reason I opened the door is because he threatened to run his truck through the door. And I heard him start the truck.
Janice's cheating ways had her husband almost committing crimes. But the saddest thing is how poor Daniel has been left hanging in the middle of all this. Even the plaintiff has admitted she has doubts regarding Daniel's paternity. The only way to figure this one out is with that good old DNA test.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Wynn, you are not the father.
In this one episode, there's a lot of beef between a man and his daughter. You know what's cruel? When a grown daughter comes to court doubting that her father isn't her biological father. This is the case of Mr. Langston and Miss Garnett. And boy, keep your tissues prepared, because you're about to have your heart crushed.
After visiting him in 2015, he wasn't responding.
Your mother blanked me about your birth father being me. She was missing around when you were born. I don't want to keep causing you pain, but I have mixed feelings about it. Talk to your mother and find out the truth.
So, it turns out it took years for Miss Garnett to develop a working relationship with her father, who she assumed was Mr. Langston. For a while, the two kept talking to each other. And what's more, she found him at a funeral and always wanted to keep a steady connection going. But then one day, things changed for the worse.
Miss Garnett, you grew up as a daddy's girl. You say he's your best friend.
He's always been my dad. 2 years ago, when I was at the funeral with him, he had brought up for the very first time that he thought I may not have been his daughter, which blew my mind.
It's a pretty hurtful moment for Miss Garnett when Mr. Langston tells the entire court that he always doubted her being his daughter, right from the moment when she was born. The look in Miss Garnett's eyes are pretty heartbreaking in that moment, because she always thought she had a great relationship with her dad, and he just had trauma dumped on her out of nowhere.
I pressured her. Did you do anything with him? She kept saying no. Then she came around. I gave him some because he kept knocking on the door back. So I finally gave in and gave him some.
Mr. Langston talks about catching his wife doing it with someone else, but when Judge Lauren asks her if that's true, she completely denies it. So, who's really telling the truth here? And when she got pregnant with Miss Garnett, she swears that Mr. Langston was the only man she'd been seeing, which leaves no room for doubt.
When the baby was born, did Mr. Langston participate in the birth?
Not at all. He was just not that type of person.
Did he sign the birth certificate?
No.
I paid child support, not only 18 years, I paid it 20 years.
But when
they
did you
started
start?
sending me checks back for overpayment, $1,700, $800.
Miss Garnett's mother even went and got a DNA test done all by herself, but Mr. Langston never showed up. It was like he didn't even want Miss Garnett in his life. He kept yammering about paying child support, but always emotionally distanced himself from his daughter's life. And now, she's all grown up, wondering who her real dad is.
I felt like he was taking my identity away from me because I've always known I was a Langston.
I have so much about my father. When he came back into my life, it was like a piece of the puzzle was missing. You know, not only the personality, just so many other things. I don't think we would have been able to do that.
And because of all the confusion, Miss Garnett decided to post something about trying to find her father on Facebook. She wanted to see if she had any resemblance to Mr. Langston and his family relatives, so she dug into the family history and tried to do some soul searching so she could find some peace.
This picture, and it reminded me of this picture of my grandfather, and I noticed some similarities in our faces. I posted it to Facebook to get some support.
Moving on, Mr. Langston makes all these false claims about never wanting to hurt Miss Garnett, and that if she's really his daughter, he'll come through and be the father she's always wanted in her life. He's cracking jokes to lighten the mood and keeps saying he doesn't trust himself. But the only way to resolve this now is to reveal the results of the test.
You are not the father.
Now don't look at me. Ask her who your daddy really is.
There are a lot of stories out there that just crush your heart, but this one's sure to break it into many pieces. Mr. Johnson and Miss Carr have been fighting over the paternity of their daughter for 18 years now, and it's taking a toll on the teenager. So, there's only one way to find an answer to all that drama.
Your Honor, Mr. Johnson has always acknowledged my daughter.
Your Honor, that's incorrect. When her daughter was first born, her father came to my house and said that they had a DNA test with another man. I was not the father, he was the father.
Now, this is where things take a weird turn. According to Mr. Johnson, he's had sex with Miss Carr only once, whereas on the other hand, Miss Carr confesses they did it more than once. Who should be believed here? Is either of them telling the truth? The first time Miss Carr found out she was pregnant, she immediately told Mr. Johnson. And the way he reacted.
This is something I cannot forget. I told my family member after I got off the phone with Miss Carr, I could have a baby on the way.
Nobody else in the family knew about him being a possibility until I had her on the delivery table. I had a boyfriend at the time. My boyfriend
was the father
the
of
whole
the child.
All right.
These two keep fighting, but they don't realize how it's affecting their 18-year-old daughter. At the time, Miss Carr also had a boyfriend, and Mr. Johnson was suspicious that the girl never really belonged to him. And then, a long time ago, Mr. Johnson runs into the girl at a grocery store.
3 to 4 years later, I move in with a family member that they are close to. Miss May is constantly interacting with these family members. She comes to the family member's house. This is not my daughter. I said I need a DNA test. Even without the DNA test, I started accepting Miss May as my child.
According to Mr. Johnson, he did as much as he could to become involved in the girl's life. He even arranged for all birthday parties, and he did everything that he could as a father. But all this time, he never got a DNA test done, so there wasn't any true confirmation about who was the poor girl's actual father. On top of that, Miss Carr felt like he never communicated things with her.
My 10th birthday, he threw me a party at the water park. I remember that. And summer after 5th grade, I remember that day because he made me stay in the house.
When's the last time you saw Mr. Johnson?
Last time I saw Mr. Johnson was 2010.
They bring the 18-year-old into the court. Miss May sits next to the judge and shares how she doesn't have a lot of memories with Mr. Johnson and that she had to grow up with a pretty confusing atmosphere at home. After all this trouble, there's only one way to find the answers and stop all the heartbreak.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are her father.
So good.
Mr. Pez is here in court to tell the story of how Mr. McQueen abandoned his little daughter and ran away to another state. Since then, he's failed to step up to his responsibilities as the father of the cute girl and keeps denying that the baby is his. Will baby Araya grow up with or without a father?
You very angry about that?
Yes.
Tell the court.
It's hard because I didn't ever see it like this.
How did you see it?
Like he had promised.
And how was that?
I had moved out to go live with him, and we had actually planned on having her. Everything went downhill from there.
Mr. McQueen claims he's done plenty of things for his daughter, but as it turns out, he's only bought diapers and wipes for her. And you all know that fathers are supposed to do a lot more than that. On top of that, he says he doubts that Araya is his because Mr. Pez has a lot of affairs with other men.
I have doubts because I didn't have her full attention, more interested in getting other men's attention than mine.
So tell me, what was the nature of your relationship? Were you committed? Were you boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes, we were committed, yes.
This next revelation will put a bullet in your heart. While Mr. Pez had been planning on building a future with Mr. McQueen, guess what he'd been doing? He was busy sleeping around. He had the audacity to say Mr. Pez was not faithful to him when it was him who had been going behind her back all this time. And Mr. Pez caught him in time.
And so you caught him cheating on you.
Yep.
And how did this lead to the paternity question?
It's because he doesn't trust himself, so he thought it was all right, so he assumes I thought it was okay to be cheating on him.
Because he was out there doing the wrong thing. He thinks you were as well, but you were not.
No.
The first time she catches him cheating, it was absolutely devastating. But Miss Cherpez couldn't do much about it because 3-year-old Araya was with her and she didn't want to taint her little girl's world with adult problems. On top of that, he accuses Miss Cherpez of cheating on him. But the real question is, does he have proof?
She did tell me she was going to her father's to do laundry. I actually found out that she went to another man's house and spent the night.
Is that true, Miss Cherpez?
Yes, because he had brought a woman to our house. So to kind of avoid the fighting, I had left, yes.
Then Miss Cherpez has her mother standing with her. She interjects and talks about how, when Mr. McQueen should be the one focusing on Araya's responsibilities, they're the ones actually looking after the baby. The worst part is that they planned to have Araya, and now he's just breaking her heart.
Texting other men. She was going to see other men. She was using me.
Using you for what?
Using me for a place. I
didn't need to live with you. I was living with my dad.
Yeah, and I took you out of there so you didn't have to put up with the bad situation.
Mr. McQueen levels another accusation at Miss Cherpez. This time, he claims that she had been sleeping with her ex-boyfriend, and the worst thing he says is that she was taking money from him. It's so obvious this man has no respect for the woman he got pregnant with. But the least he can do is respect the mother of his daughter.
Because this court has identified a man named Glenn Gerber.
This is also one
who Miss Cherpez was intimate with.
That would be the man she stayed the night with. That was
Is
the man
that true, Miss Cherpez?
Yes.
So you told him you were at your father's house, but really you had spent the night with another man.
Yep.
The thing that makes all of this even more difficult for Miss Cherpez is that Araya isn't her first child. She's already handling 2 kids and was happily living in her own home raising them until Mr. McQueen came into the picture. And now there's only one way of settling this matter.
Pertaining to whether Mr. Gerber or Mr. McQueen is the father of 8-month-old Araya, the biological father is Mr. McQueen.
See?
Miss Herman and Mr. Houston have one hell of a matter to settle in paternity court, and the cruelty in this one is just going to knock you off your seat. Miss Herman's come to pledge her case with Judge Lauren. It turns out Mr. Houston had a secret affair with Miss Herman behind his wife's back and refuses to acknowledge that he's Corey's father.
Mr. Houston was living a double life.
He was a cheater. He was also a womanizer. After we had sex, not too long after, I found out he had a wife and children.
How did you find that out?
I like to call this the investigadget stage. When my woman intuition hits, that's what I do. I investigate.
So in the beginning, things were all good and sweet. But then, after doing the deed one too many times with each other, Mr. Houston got Miss Herman pregnant. At first, he was all gentlemanly and consoling, full of promises about being there for her every step of the way. But then, one day...
So you go on Facebook and you see this picture of Mr. Houston and he has a wedding ring on his hand. And then what do?
And then I call him.
You never told her you were married, Mr.
Never
Houston?
has he ever even brought up the fact that he had children.
I met her as a gentleman. Before anything, before my father, before my dad, before my liar, before my cheater, I'm a man first.
Damn, poor Miss Herman had no idea Mr. Houston had been hiding a whole family from her. That must have felt like one strong stab in the back. Miss Herman had to do her own investigation to find all the juicy details through Facebook. And the worst part, he already had 5 kids.
Before I met her, it wasn't her business. You see what I'm saying? I was more curious about getting to know who she was.
So your marriage and your kids and your wife were all extra things.
I wasn't trying to go in a direction of being with her or...
But you didn't use protection when you were sleeping with her.
This man has way too much audacity. He didn't use protection, and he even kept his family life hidden like a secret. And when Miss Herman gets pregnant, he just shows up for 2 doctor's appointments and decides to say goodbye to the rest. What an irresponsible man. But wait, hear the cruelest thing about this case.
I was up, went to the bathroom, I called Carice and I asked her, what you doing? She answered the phone at 2 a.m. I wound up leaving, going over there in my car. I went to her house.
Mr. Houston, did your wife have any idea you were leaving the house at 2 in the morning and sleeping with another woman?
The thing is this, we were already on the verge of going through a divorce.
But the best part plays out when Mr. Houston's wife joins the scene. After all, it's two women he's been making a fool of in this entire case of events. His wife had no idea what was going on, just like Miss Herman didn't know the man had been keeping a family on the side. So, when things are revealed, it all goes south.
And I'm like, so somebody is pregnant by you? Eventually, I end up calling the number and I talked to her. Was she really pregnant by him? Was she sure like it was his baby, You're pregnant. I'm pregnant too. So how does that work?
Then Mr. Houston dares to say he didn't have a great father himself, so that's why he wants to have as many kids as possible. But Judge Lauren doesn't let that slide. She tells him straight to his face that he's not the superhero that he thinks he is. And then all hell breaks loose again when Miss Herman reveals how Mr. Houston tricked her.
Saying they're allergic to latex, but not allergic
This
to
woman
sex.
tried trapping me.
I mean, it's like
sex at all. You're right.
If you allergic to latex, then you don't need to be having no sex.
When he first brought out the condom, I said, is it a no-latex condom? He told me, no, it's latex. I said, I can't use that. I said, we better off not. No, never mind. I'll just do it anyway. But it wasn't your intent to get me pregnant.
Not only does Mr. Houston keep disrespecting his wife, he also keeps throwing insults at Miss Herman. The judge has had enough of him. He calls women chicken, and that throws the entire court into a moment of silence. Is this man even man enough to become a father? Should poor Corey live a life with a man like him?
Mr. Houston, you are not the father.
Yes!
I asked you,
Came to the
was
bed.
there any other man? The truth is, you were already pregnant. Do you know who your child's father is?
Yeah.
Playing men like chess has led to Miss Bruton landing in a paternity puddle badly. While torn over the possibility of not being the father, two men are at each other's throats. And if you think this behavior is despicable, check out how this mommy defended herself.
Ms. Bruton, why are you so sure Mr. Martin is not your child's father?
First of all, Logan looks just like Anthony. They have the same ears, eyes, nose. And he don't favor Mr. Martin at all. So that's why I'm sure.
Just by looks alone?
Yeah, by looks alone.
If things were that simple, these people wouldn't be in paternity court now, would they? The bone of contention here is that part-time lover Mr. Martin claimed to have impregnated the plaintiff on purpose, and there was no doubt that the baby was his.
Around the time that she conceived, she might say I didn't have it as many times she said I did, but I know it's a fact.
No.
It's 99.7%
No, Your Honor.
that it is mine.
No, Your Honor. We only had unprotected sex twice.
No.
That's it.
Your Honor.
Twice.
Your Honor.
In my apartment twice.
Your Honor, it was 3 at her apartment.
Shockingly, the defendant testified that smirk-faced mommy had convinced her about being the father of baby Logan. But now, when things got normal between her and her boyfriend, she took a U-turn for convenience.
Did you call him and say, I'm pregnant and you're the father?
First of all, I called both of them because I wasn't for sure who was the father because I slept with both of them around the same time.
Okay, so you do admit his testimony is true.
Their relationship was messier than their paternity situation. It turns out that Kiara had told both men about them being the father, while keeping the potential fathers in the dark about each other. Man, talk about being selfish. How does she sleep at night?
We was having our ups and downs in our relationship. And so when I met Mr. Martin, I confided him as a friend, and then our friendship grew into a sexual relationship. But it wasn't nothing more than that. My heart always been with Anthony.
All right, so you were always in love with Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
Woman had no shame. Like, who on earth goes on to play with other people's feelings in that way? But things are about to get worse, trust me. Even after, yes, I cheated confession, the plaintiff had the nerve about saying that she was in love with her co-plaintiff.
I just told them that I'm pregnant. And
oh, so you didn't tell the other man that there was another.
I had to keep it a secret because I was in love with Mr. Richardson and I didn't want him to find out about Mr. Martin.
If you were so in love with him, why was we having sexual relationship when you was with him? That's no way of showing love.
Further, it was disclosed that Miss Bruton had jumped leaps and bounds to keep Mr. Martin because she didn't want her fairy tale love to be ruined by the defendant and his presence. And she made sure that Mr. Richardson signed the birth certificate.
Because I wanted Mr. Richardson to know all of that. I didn't want Mr. Martin to know none of that because I don't want him to be Logan's father.
So you allowed Mr. Richardson to sign the birth certificate because you think he's the father or because you hope he's the father?
I think he's the father and I'm hoping he's the father.
Both.
You heard Miss Bruton. She just doesn't want the poor defendant to be the father. But the truth has its way of coming out. And when the baby came to the word, the bitter news of the plaintiff's infidelity got out. And FYI, the way it got disclosed wasn't pretty either.
I had suspicions of Mr. Richardson cheating on me. And so when I felt like he was hurting me, I decided to hurt him to get back at him. So that's when I came and told him that it's a possibility that Mr. Martin is Logan's father.
You had suspicion of me because of things that you do.
Miss Bruton, you playing these men like a game of chess.
The plaintiff was a literal she-devil, using everyone around her to get what she wanted. She even went so far as to use the child as a pawn. And the judge didn't like that situation at all. Do we blame for Judge Lake for being irked? Not at all.
Everything that has happened here today is a product of your intention. You didn't just slip on a banana peel and end up in the bed with Mr. Martin by accident.
Your Honor.
You're saying all of this is it's purposeful, and that disturbs me.
Well, Your Honor, I'm human.
So what I'm saying is
I'm
once
gonna make mistakes.
Like all of us, the reality TV judge was also done with the obnoxiousness of the baby mama, because the woman was a hopeless case. I felt bad for not only Logan, but also for the unfortunate men involved in the situation. Let's get them the answers they came looking for.
You are not the father.
I told you.
What?
I told you.
You are the father.
I told you. I knew what it was.
No, that is not possible.
What would you do if a paternity conundrum jumbled up your mind? As in this case, Miss Craig dragged her parents into Judge Lake's court, turning her last card of hope to determine for sure if the man she'd known for years was her biological father or not. Let's watch how she mustered up the courage for this mess.
Miss Craig, why is today your last hope?
Because I struggle with my identity, first and foremost. I've been going through too much, in and out of foster homes, back and forth. When I was about 5, there was a man in my life, and he was said to be my father.
Initially, it was revealed that this young woman had a lot of pain and trauma from not having a father in her life. She stated that she ended up living in foster care, yet she recalled a man whom she used to consider her dad, but her aunt dropped the bomb of reality on her. Even though decades had passed, the plaintiff's memories were still haunting her. Further, she claimed that her mother brought another man into the picture as her father. But the bummer was that her mother concealed the truth from Mr. Thompson at first, which made things miserable.
I saw him and his wife in a tavern, and I walked up to him and say, "Hey, baby daddy, we have a child together," and they're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Him and his wife were just at a tavern?
Yes, and I walked up, say, "Hey, baby daddy." He's like, "No, I don't have any kids." So I'm like, "Yeah, we have a 10-year-old child together."
However, the man opposed the testimony and claimed that he remembered meeting the baby girl with her grandma. And besides this, everything was a lie. Oh my. It seemed like both were swinging on their bluffing.
Okay, so you remember this day?
No. No, I do not.
So how did you find out that
I remember
Chanel...
seeing Chanel when Chanel was a baby. She was a small little baby. She was 1, but I came out of prison. She was a little baby, and I came by her grandmama's house. Her mother wasn't there.
When you looked at her, did you believe this is my child?
No.
Mr. Thompson said that because every time the plaintiff would bring her sister when she was staying at his place, he became uncomfortable with the kids and left contact with Miss Craig. Further, he tried to comment on the mother-daughter relationship, and the defendant attacked him.
The relationship they was having, Janelle
That's
was...
mother and daughter, but how do you come in from being gone 7 years and say, "Oh, you can come live in my house"? Again, she don't know you.
You wasn't around?
I played both parts. What are you talking about? The her part over with.
And this is what I go through.
She was bashing him, right? How in 10 years he never tried to reconnect with their daughter? Selfish! Even after his cold behavior, Miss Craig said that his girlfriend and kids told her that he denied the paternity, and this led to arguments between the parents.
I told you that when I first met you. Back up again.
Chanel told me that
You
when
are
she
such
turned
a liar.
16.
I sat
She
there in
showed
your
me her
face
birth
and
certificate
told you
because
this man
she
signed
needed an
that birth
ID, a
certificate.
state ID.
It doesn't
and she showed me
matter.
this birth
I still
certificate.
told you
Ain't
he
told
put
me
his
nothing.
name on the birth certificate.
Ain't told me nothing.
Let me get this straight.
The first man, him and my mom was talking at the time.
It's good to know that her mother stood by her side. But still, living in the void of not having a father had affected her badly. And after having her baby, she wanted to know her paternity, and, for the last time, expressed her pain to her parents.
From my lifestyle, from this, like I done been through too much. And I shouldn't feel like I had to go through that. No child had to go through that. It hurt.
What kind of support did you need?
A father, for one. And I don't blame my mama for what she did, but I just wish she could have been there a little more.
Today's session was very hard for Miss Craig, but it was essential to put this burden off her shoulders. She wanted to know the name of her real father so that her baby could have its grandfather and to give her answers. She was ready for those results.
Miss Craig, Mr. Thompson is not your father.
Sorry, Neil. You can give me a hug. I'm your mom and dad. Don't matter. I'm still your daddy. I love you.
Baby mama Miss Davis, in hopes to right her wrongs, brings Mr. Smith to paternity court, who's one of the 4 potential fathers of her 2-year-old son. She hopes to find the father after messing around with multiple dudes. Let's hear what she has to say in her defense.
As a child, I had a very bad childhood. I went through 13 different foster homes. I've been to 4 different group homes, and I didn't grow up knowing who my father was until I was 18 years old. And my son's only 2. I mean, it's not his fault that I decided to make, well, practically a hoe of myself when I was of that age.
That's probably just a sob story. If she had such a tough childhood herself, why did she inflict the same hate on her child? Anyway, look how she explains to the judge that she stumbled upon 4 different men.
Each of the individual men I actually met on a chat line within days upon each other. I made a calendar.
In orange, potential father number 2 we see is Mr. Smith. Now tell me about that relationship.
We met on the chat line, I hung out with him, and I spent a week with Mr. Smith. It's actually the time around that I conceived my son.
Upon asking, Mr. Smith claimed that he tried to get in touch with Miss Davis after a solid week of intimate sex, and he replied she changed her number and went back to her ex. This woman doesn't respect herself. Look what she said.
I did go back to my ex. It wasn't satisfactory, so I didn't really feel the need to go back.
It wasn't satisfactory?
No, Your Honor.
The man in blue, potential father number 3, who's that?
Another man which I was intimate with only once.
Where'd you meet him?
What? She doesn't even know the name of whom she slept with? But now she's having a guilt trip on who's the father? Probably she wants to pin the child on someone so that she can go have flings again. She did show responsibility when she had 2 of the dudes tested.
So did him not being his child? Yeah. So now we're left with Mr. Smith and potential father number 4. Now I remember you saying with potential father number 4, you don't know where he is.
I don't even know his name, Your Honor.
You don't even know his name.
Wait, there's more. Mr. Smith also has to say why he doesn't think he's the father. Upon being asked by the judge if Miss Davis has ever asked him to take a test, he responded confidently like this.
You ever asked Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, has she ever asked you to take a test?
No, she hasn't, Your Honor. She skipped me and went to them. I guess I was the last option, Your Honor.
But first you told him he was not.
Yes.
And now you'll see why don't think I'm the father, because that was kind of slutty if I think.
Well, no doubt that's a problem. We'll just not go there. But when the judge asked if she had been pressing the baby on Mr. Smith, after knowing that potential fathers number 1 and 3 got eliminated, Mr. number 4 was a one-night stand, and Miss Davis didn't sound clear. Listen for yourself.
Did you really think Mr. Smith was credible option left?
No, I'm very positive that Mr. Smith is the father. With knowing that he is the father, I would actually like for him, this is my son's birth certificate.
Jerome, who's on the birth certificate now?
Me.
And no father listed?
No.
That birth certificate is nothing more than a sign of desperation to pin the baby down on someone. And if no one, Mr. Smith might be the one. After that, the judge called for the result. And check out what happened next.
Mr. Smith, you are not Javion's father.
I'm like so hurt, Your Honor.
You look crushed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I can see that in your eyes. There's a disappointment that I see in your face.
Yes, Your Honor.
Unbelievable! A virgin birth? Can you imagine the shock? But hold on, this is no ordinary tale. Meet Mr. Harrington, who vehemently denies being the father of Miss Day's baby girl, but she's certain he's the one. So, who's the real deceiver here?
Eleni is not my child. This is the reason though, because there's other contenders, and she's a promiscuous person. She like to be, you know what I'm saying, she a party person. So she do whatever she feel like she wanna do, and she knows I'm a good father to the child I already got with her. You know, I'm a good person and I take care of my responsibilities.
In a twist of fate, Mr. Harrington discovers his impending fatherhood through an anonymous text. Who could this mysterious informant be? And why did Miss Day keep this life-changing news from him? She claims it's all a fabrication, but Mr. Harrington seems to possess evidence. Miss Day, care to explain?
How your baby mama pregnant and her and your sister hiding it from you? It might be guy number 1 baby though. You write back, who is this? So you just an anonymous tipper, huh?
Yeah.
Despite the anonymous text and the possibility of other potential fathers, Mr. Harrington bravely steps up to take responsibility if the DNA confirms his paternity. He attends the birth, yet hesitates to sign the birth certificate. After all, doubts linger. Why put his name down if the child isn't his?
I was saying to myself, okay, if I am a possible father, I don't want to have missed the birth. So I was keeping it real with myself. I was being real with myself.
Okay, all right, wrong, because he told me that he just wanted to make sure that I knew that he was gonna always be there.
Hold on tight. As the court proceedings unfolded, chaos ensues with the arrival of Miss Day's sister. Is she the key to unraveling the truth? Well, she drops a bombshell. Mr. Harrington's girlfriend threatens to leave if he's proven the father. And guess what? She's present in court too. Whoa, talk about drama.
When he came to the hospital, he asked her not to be named Nelania. He wanted her to be named Naya.
They just trying to make
He don't want to admit nothing because because his girlfriend told him that if he's the father, they will break up. And he don't want to go home to his mama because he house from irrelevant.
Hold on. In a shocking turn of events, Mr. Harrington presents compelling evidence to prove his innocence. He whips out his trusty laptop and unveils a due date calendar, revealing that conception occurred when he was nowhere near Miss Day. How can he be the father if he wasn't even around?
Mr. Harrington, you are not the father.
What? Told you, bro.
Are you serious?
Told you, can I Millie Rock?
No, you can't.
A thrilling turn of events, a woman embarks on a quest to uncover the true identity of her child's father. Two men are entangled in this intriguing web of uncertainty, and if either of them is indeed the father, it would bring joy to little Malcolm. But are they both honest players in this game? Could there be a sinister motive lurking beneath the surface, driving them to prove paternity?
Ms. Kavanaugh, you and your mother are appearing in court today to prove paternity of your 3-week-old son, Malcolm.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim his biological father is Mr. Bowles.
Yes, Your Honor.
Even though you admit to being intimate with another man, Mr. McElliott, during the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
Betrayal strikes at the heart of trust as we delve into the question. Did she fabricate a pregnancy? Such deception would undoubtedly shatter any semblance of faith. And her audacious excuse is that she lied because she cared deeply for him? Unbelievable! Furthermore, she accuses Mr. Bowles that he led her astray, spending every other night with her.
She got pregnant. She actually lied about being pregnant maybe like some weeks before. She lied about it.
That is true. The way that I found out that I was truly pregnant with my son is because I was very childish when I was talking to Mr. Bowles. Like, I really cared about him and I desperately wanted him to care about me because we were with each other basically every other night, if not every night. He was coming to my house.
Finally, Mr. McElliott takes the stand, ready to share his side of the story regarding his relationship with Miss Kavanaugh. He claims to have been a perfect gentleman, treating her to romantic dates and movies. However, when she discovered her pregnancy, she scurried back to Mr. Bowles. Is this fair game?
My relationship with Miss Kavanaugh, I would say, is a very special one. Me and her, we met, I got her number, I called her that evening, offered her for a movie. We hooked up and went out to eat or something like that. But ever since—
So you took her on dates and courted her and treated her like a lady should be treated?
Always.
Good.
Hold on tight. There's a potential twist in this tale. Brace yourself, for a third party might be involved. Oh, dear girl, you should have exercised more caution. On a fateful night, Miss Kavanaugh succumbed to intoxication and had a passionate encounter with a stranger. Both men now harbor doubts, questioning if Malcolm might be the child of this mysterious third person. Their desperation to uncover the truth reaches new heights.
I believe there was a third party or something that was included in this.
That's true, Your Honor.
A third party?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please elaborate on the third party.
It was a very drunken night. It was a one-night stand.
Do you remember whether you used protection or not?
No.
The suspense reaches its peak as the long-awaited moment arrives, the revelation of the results. We can only hope that Miss Kavanaugh has been truthful and that no more dark secrets lie hidden. Alas, it's revealed that she has been deceitful all along, and neither of the men is the biological father. Their torment stems from her inability to accept her promiscuity, dragging them through this tumultuous journey.
Mr. McElliott, you are not his father. Mr. Bowles, you are not his father. Calm down.
I'm so sorry.
I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to put you guys through all that.
The plaintiff, Mr. Butterfield, staunchly believes he is the father of her ex-girlfriend's baby, determined to unravel the truth. But why does Miss Bracknell vehemently deny it? Is it the fear of a shattered family driving her to withhold the truth?
Me and Mrs. Bracknell had a residence together for almost a year. We did try to have a baby together before.
Okay, so you lived together?
Yes, we did.
And you were in a relationship?
Yes, Your Honor. She had told me when we were breaking up, she said, "Thank you for the gift." And I said, "What gift was that?"
And it wasn't till later that you found out she was pregnant.
That is correct.
Time to turn back the clock and scrutinize the calendar dates. Mr. Butterfield clings to the belief that Kara is his daughter, yet the calculations don't align. Their relationship ended in August, and since then, Miss Bracknell has been faithfully committed to Mr. Dallas, who firmly believes Kara was conceived in September.
Kara was conceived in mid-September, and she was born in June. If we count back, there's no way Mr. Butterfield is Kara's biological father.
No, Your Honors, no. Because honestly, we were sleeping together after that. I can take a lie detector test if you want to prove it.
So you
up in the
said
mountains, up in the hills. You don't remember that, right?
Is she cheating on someone's birthday? Oh, the audacity, Miss Bracknell. The accusation hangs in the air, leaving us wondering who the true liar is. Mr. Butterfield suggests she's been involved with multiple men, hurling a barrage of disparaging remarks. However, she remains steadfast in her denial.
She cheated on me on...
I did not cheat on you.
She was gone with her ex on my birthday, and then come crawling back after that.
She was gone with Mr. Dallas or somebody else?
Somebody else. There could be more than one person that she's been with.
No, it's not true, Your Honor.
Really?
Have you tried to be in her life, Mr. Butterfield?
I have. Actually, when I found out about it, I've messaged her mom, let him know I was coming.
In a surprising turn of events, the judge probes Mr. Butterfield's access to Kara, but Miss Bracknell interjects, asserting there's no reason for it. Wait, what? If he's the father, doesn't he have every right to be a part of his daughter's life? As a devoted father, Mr. Butterfield yearns to claim his rightful place and bestow his name upon his child.
So you've not been allowed to see Kara or be in her life at all?
No.
There's no reason for it.
There is every reason.
No.
And if in fact it's determined today that she is your biological child, what are your intentions?
I don't want her back. That's anyway. I want to be in my daughter's life, and yes, the name will be changed.
But here's the real bombshell. Mr. Butterfield reveals a pattern in Miss Bracknell's behavior, running back to her exes whenever her relationships hit rocky shores. Could this be the reason she vehemently denies him as the father? Is she striving for consistency in her baby daddies?
Kara's biological father is Mr. Butterfield.
What did I tell you?
It's fake.
What did I tell you?
It's fake. Now watch.
It's all right. We'll take another one. Truce out.
So you were correct, Mr. Butterfield.
Prepare to be captivated by the twists and turns of this extraordinary case. 3 individuals, Mr. Jacob, Miss Call, and Mr. Daniel Cooper, are entangled in a web of deception. The burning question remains, who is telling the truth?
Mr. Jacobs, you're on the birth certificate and paying child support for 3-year-old Samar, but say your ex is now telling people that you are not his biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Miss Call, you admit Samar's real biological father is another man, Mr. Daniel Cooper.
Yes, Your Honor.
Imagine this. Mr. Jacob hastily signs the birth certificate claiming parenthood before Miss Call can even regain consciousness. In the recovery room, unaware, she's left astounded by Jacob's audacity.
I wasn't in recovery room. When I woke up, he told me he signed the birth certificate, named the baby, everything. I didn't know nothing about it until I woke up in the recovery room.
Yeah. So the baby was named and the birth certificate was signed when you
woke up from
Your Honor,
the C-section,
that's not true at all.
It is true, Your Honor.
You all had never discussed the name?
No.
So bottom line is when you got out of recovery, the birth certificate was signed.
Yes.
Miss Call's belief in Mr. Cooper as her son's biological father hangs solely on a mere photograph. Oh, how she's been misled. From the very beginning, allowing Jacob to sign the birth certificate to extracting child support, she's been under a cloud of falsehood.
After he signed the birth certificate, paying child support, he's responsible legally for this child. You're now saying he's not the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you truly believe Mr. Cooper is the father.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Cooper's family members show me a picture of Mr. Cooper when he was 3-year-old. My son is 3-year-old now. They look just alike.
Now, let's turn our attention to Mr. Cooper. He dismisses any resemblance between himself and the baby, emphasizing his lean frame compared to Jacob's robustness. Though he's played a supportive role in Jacob's life and lent a helping hand to Miss Call, he adamantly denies being the father.
Have you spent any time with Samar?
No, ma'am. I mean,
Have
when he
you
was
bought anything for the child?
Yes, ma'am. I bought diapers and wipes before.
You have?
Yes, ma'am.
And formula.
And why were you providing for a baby you definitively said was not yours?
Because she first had them and I didn't know. I just wanted to see them and she asked me to get the baby some diapers. So I'm like, yeah, why not?
Prepare for a shocking revelation. The truth unravels before our eyes. Neither Mr. Cooper nor Mr. Jacob are Samar's biological fathers. Who then is the biological father? Miss Call hints at a handful of possibilities, unraveling a mystery that keeps us on the edge of our seats.
Mr. Cooper, you are not the father.
I knew it.
Mr. Jacobs, you are not the father.
What the? Oh, hold up. Wait a minute. Calm down. You say what?
Miss
Hold
Call,
down.
you don't seem that surprised.
Judge Lake is determined to ensure Miss Call locates these men, urging her to unearth the real father for Samar's sake. It's time for the games to cease, and for these adults to act responsibly, for the child's future is at stake.
This may require some research on your part because your baby deserves to know who his father is. Mr. Jacobs, you know you should listen to your mama.
Yeah.
You've got a situation on your hands. You are going to have to petition the court in that state to see if the court will allow you to remove your name.
Hold on tight and prepare for a gripping courtroom drama. Brace yourself as we delve into the heart-wrenching case of Mr. Degg, a desperate father or an unsuspecting victim. Let the truth unfold before your very eyes as we uncover the shocking revelations.
Mr. Deggs, you are here today hoping you are the biological father of the defendant's 3-year-old son, Jason. You have petitioned the court for a paternity test because you claim your ex, Ms. Guerin, first led you to believe that you were Jason's dad, but when the baby was 6 months old, she confessed that you may not be the biological father.
Mr. Degg arrived at the courtroom with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. He longed for the DNA test to confirm that the son he believed was his truly shared his blood. However, his ex, Miss Guerin, denied his paternity claim, thrusting their relationship into a whirlwind of uncertainty. Can you imagine the crushing blow to his soul?
When did you first find out Ms. Guerin cheated on you?
We were together about a year. At the time, we were moving out of my best friend's apartment, and it was just about that I got the truck loaded up with everything. And I went upstairs to grab my last box, and my best friend at the time pulled me aside and told me him and my brother had both slept with me.
What?
Miss Guerin discloses the dark truth that during their tumultuous times, both of them strayed and betrayed their commitment. This child might belong to another man. However, Mr. Degg vehemently denies the possibility, firmly believing that his flesh and blood stand before him. He stood by Miss Guerin throughout the pregnancy and witnessed the miracle of birth.
When I found out I was pregnant, we had a lot of problems at that time. We had already cheated on each other. And then I met somebody else. I ended up sleeping with him while I was with Jason.
When you give birth to the child, he was there.
Yes, he was there.
I cut the cord. I've been there since day one, taking care of this baby and this woman.
Both parties relentlessly point fingers, each painting the other as the villain in this heartbreaking saga. Did Miss Guerin truly abandon Jason, leaving him in the care of her mother and Mr. Degg for 3 agonizing months? A mother's love should know no bounds, right? Yet their devotion seems misplaced, as if they prioritize their personal lives over their own flesh and blood.
Mr. Deggs, take me to that day where, unfortunately, you got that bomb dropped on you.
I think we were in an argument, and out of nowhere she throws at me, "You're probably not even the daddy of Jason anyway."
No,
I crumbled right
throw it
there,
at
started
him like
crying.
that. I would never
What?
do that.
You told me after this long that I'm not the daddy and we're in an argument? What is it? Am I the dad or am I not?
Enter Mr. Felton, a key witness called by Judge Lake. It turns out that Mr. Felton has assumed the role of a father figure to young Jason, surpassing both biological parents. He claims to have never usurped Mr. Degg's place, but rather provided support and accompanied the child to various appointments. Oh, the joys and laughter that a 3-year-old brings.
All right, in your statement to the court, you actually said that you've been the father to this child, even though there's no chance you're the biological father, but you're saying that you are the man that stepped up.
I do things that a father is supposed to do. I never try and take the place of his biological father because I'm not his biological father.
The results of the DNA test are about to be revealed. Miss Guerin has been lying all along. Mr. Degg, in a cruel twist of fate, is not the biological father. The agony etched on his face is heart-rending. It is a travesty that she deceived him to the extent of allowing him to cut the umbilical cord, only to now accuse him of exploiting their innocent 3-year-old child.
Mr. Degg, you are not the father.
And that's for the best. Honestly, it's for the best because he has only stayed this long so that he could get whatever benefit he's getting out of it.
Benefit?
But honestly,
What
Your
benefit
Honor,
am I
Wait.
Taking care of a 3-year-old child.
I am disgusted.
This mommy here is persistent that Mr. Hudson is the only possible father of her child, even though she had confessed that she cheated on him. However, when paternity doubt hits once, there's no going back.
Well, Your Honor, I was led to believe that I was Ja'Cory's father because at the time that we were living together is the time that she became pregnant with the child. We were together for approximately about 5 years, Your Honor.
Okay.
So, let's dive into how this infidelity ride began. It turns out the mommy cheated on her man out of spite. Let's face it, no one wants to be taken for granted. Thus, revenge sex. The only down part is that now there's a baby out of such a wild night.
We had an argument, and that's when she came and she was telling me how I might not be the father and she had done these things. I paid no attention to them because I am the father. I'm supposed to be the father. I'm here.
He was cheating on me back then, so that's the reason why I did what I did. I said he might not be the father, but I know he's the father of Ja'Cory Hudson.
It appears the baby mama is operating on feelings rather than truly knowing that he's the baby daddy. The plaintiff was sure the connection her child shared with the alleged father was paternity proof enough. That's your testimony? His being there was his good grace, and it was not proof he was the baby daddy.
You admitted you slept with someone else.
Yes, Your Honor.
Even in my time of deception, still stood there and took care of him.
Are you talking about the time of deception, meaning when you were deceiving her or she was deceiving you?
When I was deceived by her, Your Honor, and
when
she
you were,
and gave me the assumptions that she had done what she had done.
Up next, let's get the other guy in the courtroom. Well, Mr. Davis started when he found out about baby Ja'Cory via Facebook. Nonetheless, since Mommy needed clarification about the timeline, the other potential father also wanted a paternity test.
I didn't know that she was pregnant at all until I looked on Facebook one day. Like a year later, I see a picture of her son, and immediately I think her son looks like my nephew. About a year after that, she came to me. She's like, "Oh, well, can you tell me the times that we had sex?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I gave her a ballpark.
So both men are up for playing the dad part, but their doubts were coming in the way. And because of this, poor baby Ja'Cory was suffering in this limbo. This is a really tough one, guys. Time to find the truth.
Mr. Hudson, you are not his father. Mr. Davis, you are not his father.
Promiscuity and manipulation of his girlfriend have driven Mr. Lewis to the edge of a paternity dilemma, as he refuses to believe anything coming out of the plaintiff's mouth. The only thing convincing enough for him is DNA proof.
Me and Stanley planned my son.
We did not plan a baby.
Yes, we did. We've also never used a condom. We talked about having a baby numerous times. This is all new to me on why he's not claiming my son.
I'm not denying a baby. She just always lying. She's known the street to be a hoe.
Up next, there's mayhem in the court, as Mr. Lewis started calling names, not maintaining the decorum of the court. It's not your backyard, sir. And we know that when such notes are hit, it raises Judge Lake's schooling antennae.
Did I just say use respectful language in the court?
I'm sorry, but that's just what it is.
No. It's not what it's gonna be in this courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you look crazy because you're the one sleeping with her anyway, so you're not making a point. You're only making yourself look dumber.
It appeared the man was desperate to wash his hands of the child. Reality check, you've brought this upon yourself by ditching the protection. And what made things more shocking was that Mr. Lewis had convinced his girlfriend to bear him a child. But now, he was standing in the court denying it all.
A baby with her while y'all were having sex, Mr. Lewis?
Never said that we was gonna have a baby. Not the first night that we reconnect when we have sex.
But did you ever say it?
At the heat of the moment,
right.
Guys say anything having sex, Your Honor. Anything.
Note to self.
So guys, it's been established that people would say anything they want. I mean, take this for instance. Both partners had played their fair share of cheating each other, and who was paying for it? An innocent child. It's like, how wolfish can you get?
When I said I was pregnant.
I never thought.
Yes, you did, because you kept saying you ain't pregnant, you ain't pregnant. Yes, you did. Correction. Yes, you did.
No, I
and
never
then
thought
the day I had my son, I did not call him. He knew the day that I was having my son because I had to get a cesarean operation.
She's lying.
Here comes another twist. The compulsive lying of baby mama wasn't the only reason that made Mr. Lewis deny the child. It turns out that the defendant had lost the ability to father a child because of an accident. And the cherry on top was that Miss Lester was engaged to another man for almost 10 years, while mommy was claiming that her part-time lover was the father.
To the word, the doctors had pumped so much medicine in my body, and they told me that I couldn't have kids at all.
And since that time, you haven't fathered any other children.
No.
That's why you feel Raiden is not your biological child.
He doesn't even look like me. Just because he's light-skinned, he has none of my features.
Buckle up, people. Things are about to take an even crazier turn. At this point, it's impossible to tell who is telling the truth. But one thing is sure, this drama has taken up all my sanity. Luckily, Judge Lake knows how to set such records straight.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lewis, you are not the father.
Following the cheating parade, we have baby mama suing baby daddy for half the child rearing expenses, while Mr. Lewis is playing the same old jingle. Baby mama's not mine, yada yada yada, I don't want anything to do with the child. Ugh, we know that song and dance. With that said, let the trial begin.
And this is a picture of Mr. Hafner's grandfather, which is your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
On the right. And you say you truly see a resemblance.
Yes, Your Honor. A scale from 1 to 10, that's an 11. And you compare our two pictures, and that's maybe a 2.
It's very interesting as I listen to this family testify, this young man.
Let's introduce another guy in this mix. Yeah, there were 2 guys. And it's no news that that's how you end up in paternity court. However, Miss Kelso had made her pick. The woman believed that Mr. Davis was the baby daddy because of the bond they both shared.
These people who have cared so much that they don't know the truth, and we're here to find out the truth. My son deserves to have a father in his life, regardless of the financial expenses. He deserves to have somebody who will play with him, who will take him to the park, that will love who him, will sit there and feed him when he needs food, take care of him, love him unconditionally. That's what my son needs.
However, the other baby daddy, Mr. Hafner, wasn't ready to back down that easily either. The guy came all prepared. His evidence even had convinced that he was the father because baby Connor was the spitting image of him. But hey, we've seen this show long enough to know that looks can be deceiving.
Do you see more of a resemblance between your child and one of these men?
His nose looks like Jamal's, his eyes look like mine, his lips look like Richard, his hair looks like Jamal's. I just can't tell. They're so similar in different ways.
You are truly confused.
I am.
I can see it on your face.
I'm just absolutely confused, and I don't know.
You really are confused, and I can see it.
After all of that, it was time to pop out that conception calendar, and it showed that the plaintiff was going to and fro between both men at the same time, which made pointing to the father without a result very hard. If you ask me, Mommy's testimony seems more emotional than rational. Well, the heart wants what it wants, I guess.
I'm almost certain that it's Mr. Davis's.
Well, I wish it was a matter of preference. Are you ready for the results?
Absolutely.
I cannot rule on your lawsuit until we know if, in fact, Mr. Davis is your child's biological father, because you understand that if he is not, he has no legal obligation.
So, people, we know when infidelity gets established, there's no point in asking the same things again and again. This surely was an emotional ride, but it's finally reached its end. It was about time to get that envelope.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Hafner, you are not the father. You are the father.
New fears were unlocked as Mr. Brown was recently informed that he has been living a lie that he fathered baby Colby. Even though he had full custody, he was afraid that this revelation would separate him from his son. And his assumptions were right, because Miss Stewart wanted to get her ex back.
You know for certain that he's not Mr. Brown's biological child.
I'm 100% sure he's not the father.
And you understand what's at stake, though. You understand that Mr. Brown is saying he has a healthy, happy upbringing in his home.
I know he's with me, and when he's gonna be happy and healthy, I can provide that for my son.
So when the judge asked the plaintiff what was at stake for him, Mr. Brown told the court he could risk losing the kid, as his whole family took him as their family. And if this mother takes him away, it will ruin his life. And he can provide for the kid more efficiently than the mother.
Everything's at stake, Your Honor. My whole entire family knows him as theirs. I have 2 grandmas that have Alzheimer's that know him as their grandsons. My 14-year-old son knows him as his little brother. My house is a more stable home for him. It's a place where he's taken care of, and I know it's the better thing for him.
However, when the judge asked the alleged daddy how he found out about him not being the father, Mr. Brown told the court that after separating from him, Mommy left the kid at his place trying to move out. But instead of coming to pick Colby up herself, Miss Stewart called the cops on him.
So what happened when she brought the police to your house?
By that time, I'd already talked to 1 district attorney and 3 police officers who told me the same thing that I already knew, that by law, I did not have to give him back due to the fact I signed the paternity affidavit. I was on the birth certificate. The cop that she brought was probably the only one on the force she could get to side with her.
So the guy was even on the birth certificate. I mean, why wouldn't he be playing the daddy part this long? But Miss Stewart was not ready to let go that easily. She was in paternity court to take the child with her once and for all.
So therefore, I asked the officer to please leave my resident because there was nothing he could do.
You were trying to take my son away from me, and that's what you did, exactly. Rip my son from my life, from my home.
Baby mama was so addicted to the court that she knew long enough that the plaintiff was not the father and kept putting off the truth so she could be with him. But since they were separated, there was no reason to hide anything.
Because at that time, yes, I went to another friend to comfort me. Because at this time, Mr. Brown and I had decided to take a break. So I went in that time and talked to a friend like I always do. Comforting friends, and one thing led to another, and my son was conceived.
This was a paternity mess. However, the judge was hung up on the question of whether Miss Stewart was sure about the other guy being the father, or if she was doing all of this out of spite. Because we get that a lot in this reality court now, don't we? And this is how the defendant responded to the question.
When he decided to take my son from me.
So you broke up, and then he wanted custody.
Yes.
So if you had stayed in the relationship, would you have ever told him that this may not be his child?
No, I believe that he is not the father of my son. I'm 1,000% sure. And I know the truth needed to come out. It should have been sooner than later, but it came out.
After that revelation, the judge moved to Mr. Brown to ask how he took the revelation, as I'm sure he would have never seen this coming. And the plaintiff testified the same. In Mr. Brown's exact words, he was dumbfounded. Let's be fair, who wouldn't be?
You first got the news from her and she dropped this bomb on you. Did you say, I want a DNA test? Did you think to get a DNA test?
Yes, Your Honor. I called DHS and talked to them, and they informed me that I needed to call Child Support Recovery because that's who does the DNA test in the state that we live in.
Colby's only chance at fatherhood was the guy at the podium. If he steps down, Mommy will have no one to turn to. Nonetheless, only the result can determine how things will go down.
Mr. Brown, you are not the father.
I told you. All right.
High school love, all sunshine and rainbows. Nope, it's more like you're the daddy and no, I'm not. Okay, I got a little carried away with that one. But so did these young people, because their coziness produced a baby.
I grew up without a father, so I don't want my kid to grow up how I did.
And so, Mr. Brown, Ms. Hawthorne says you acting like a deadbeat. Why?
Your Honor, this baby isn't mine. I desperately believe that she's emotionally attached to me and she desperately wants to have a family with me.
It's not true because me and DeAndre, we were in a relationship. We were high school sweethearts.
It seems that Mr. Brown was not just deadbeat, but also a compulsive cheater. And what made things worse was that he had no shame about his game. FYI, his excuse of cheating wasn't doing any good either. No, we're not exaggerating. Watch for yourself.
Well, Your Honor, we was living in two different parts of the city. So she was living in the suburbs and I was living in the city. At the first beginning of the relationship.
What does that have to do with cheating?
That's true.
A year of online dating led us to this moment in this paternity court. Quick note, all you parents out there, keep your eyes on the children playing online. Just a public service message from Dr. Phil. But anyway, coming back to the matter at hand, baby daddy claims to have done the deed only once in 2014, denying baby mama's claims of going back and forth.
You met online, did you meet up?
A year.
So it was a year?
Yes.
And then you say you lost your virginity to this man who you met online?
Yes.
Note to all the parents in the gallery whose high school kids are playing online.
Yeah.
Okay?
Up next, the guy's girlfriend was introduced into this crazy equation. And taking it a step further, it got revealed that the baby daddy in question had slept with his girlfriend prior to sleeping with baby mama. Wow, that's brutal! Does he have no moral compass?
Or I came to her, I had sex with my girlfriend.
What? Okay.
You had sex with your girlfriend before you came to see Miss Hawthorne?
Correct, Your Honor.
This doesn't make any kind of sense.
And I missed my period in January.
After this, the judge called in the plaintiff's mother, who'd been playing the father of the child. Grandma demanded that it was about time that the defendant stepped up to take care of his child, as every child deserves a loving, doting father. And that's the part where we conclude the confusion with the result.
Mr. Brown, you are not the father.